Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 8th day of September 2022. My screen's been a little jumpy here. I got as far as pulling the rune. I'm going to keep it, but I'm going to start over here with what I was talking about. I guess the Queen of England is not doing well, and so the family's all by her side at this point. So we don't know about that. We'll see. Hopefully she'll rally and have a few more years. She's quite old though, so we'll see. We'll see what happens here. We'll think good thoughts and send well wishes and for her well-being and blessings, and if the and whatever happens is going to happen. That's how I see things like this. If it's her time, it's her time. If not, then full steam ahead, right? But it does give the family a chance to come together, and that's always important. So to surround her with love and their support, and so that's a good thing. I hope everyone else has been having a good week. We're still doing harvest. My husband's doing corn at the moment. We discovered a wonderful miracle, a life hack, if you will, to take a bunt can, a bunt pan, not can, and you stick the corn after you've steamed it, or well, not steamed it, but blanched it. You can steam it too if you're gonna. We like to freeze our corn. Anyway, but you got to cut it off the cob, and that's always a pain, so you stick it in the middle of the bunt pan, and then the pan surrounds it, right? And you can cut everything off and it goes into the bunt pan. I mean, I don't know who came up with that, but I mean, it's a miracle. It truly is. It's just a miracle. And so anyway, he's finishing things up. He picked all the corn yesterday, and we've been doing that, and I did the beans, and we've still got to process those today. So getting down to the end of things, we started to dig a little bit of the potatoes. We got to do that here at some point, probably not for another couple weeks. The pumpkins are getting big, and that'll be great for the grandkids, and so hopefully I think we're moving along in a good way there. So hopefully we'll be done here before too long, and we can start cleaning up for getting everything ready for next year. So anyway, that's what's been going on at our house. So hopefully the progressiveness of the day will also do well for you guys today. In the esoteric influences for today, Fortuna Minor is one of the is a geomancy rune, and that's progressive success. So maybe that's some of the influence that today. Also the eight numerology influences, and that's material recognition and approval, leadership, harmony. Laguz is the Elder Futhark rune, which is flow. So between that and Fortuna Minor, you're going to flow in a progressive way today. Jupiter is still in retrograde and in Aries still. And so, anytime the planets are in retrograde, instead of the outward expression of it creates more of an inward one. Mercury is also in retrograde. There's a whole bunch of planets, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, all of these planets, Chiron, Vesta, all in retrograde right now. There's a bunch of them. So it gives people the ability to sort of look within and reevaluate things, or conversely, things happen on an inner level that these planets represent. So Saturn is is it opposite? I think Saturn is opposite Uranus right now. I think it's opposite there, and it's going to be till the end of December. I think the 24th it goes out of that. And basically we're dealing with structure versus being thinking outside the box, and so it's sort of butting heads there, and you're having to really think about stuff. And given that they're also in retrograde, it's just sort of really makes this an inner experience that can be either transformative or chaotic. So anyway, depending on how you see it. So, but today you want to be recognized for your talent and achievements. You've got plenty of energy to pursue new opportunities. However, sometimes you can be too fixated on recognition at the expense of self-discipline, a self-disciplined approach, when a measured approach may actually bring the recognition that you want. In collaborative situations, you excel at understanding the motives of others on your team, and you're always ready to provide support during challenging moments. Others notice that you provide clarity from an inspired vision, which will make you stand out if you're in the running for a leadership role. And sometimes, that just sort of falls away, and there you are. You're the leader, and people recognize that, and people look to you for that kind of guidance. So whether or not it's an actual supervisory role or not, it just seems like in any group situation, someone's going to be the leader. It's always the way. So, and it's interesting when more than one wants to have that position in the group. So. But anyway, like I said, I did this once and things were stuttering on the screen. So when it starts out that way, I just tend to start over. But I had already drawn the rune for today, and it was Perthro. And I was talking about directionality. Here it's open to birth. Here it's open to death. Here it's a cauldron. So depending on how you do your runes, I just pull one from the bag, and it is what it is. But sometimes people will either dump them all out and see which ones are up and the direction they're going and all of that. That's another way to do it. Sometimes I do it that way, but usually I don't have a big enough space. Things fall, and so anyway, I just tend to draw them myself out of the bag. But basically, Perthro is about fate. And and about the Norns controlling the fate of men, and what that, to me, I've thought an awful lot about that, because they don't talk about women in this. They in the lore they're talking about the Norns are the ones who brought Odin the runes, who gave Odin the runes as he hung upside down from the world tree, sacrificing an eye. It says in the lore, I think in the Havamal or somewhere, he sacrificed himself to himself, and that basically means he took out an eye. But anyway, he needed some other kind of clarity and to be able to see things from a higher perspective. So the Norns gave him the runes, supposedly, and in that sense, they control the fate of men. And so I don't know, it seems to me that when you think about it that way, the male side of self or the masculine side of self is projective, it's initiative, it's all of that. But the receptive side of self, or the female side of self, is birth. It's the genesis of things. It comes from the void. It's the void of creation. And so I think that there could be some soul level type of influence in terms of controlling the fate of men. If you don't see that side of things, then you're controlled by your ego, maybe. And so whenever I draw Perthro in a reading, the immediate question that comes to mind is, who's going to control your fate today? Are you going to be doing that? Is ego going to do it? Is someone else going to do it? Is higher self going to be in charge of that, of how you see things? And so let's see what let me move this out of the way here. The esoteric influence is out of the way, since it doesn't have to be in the middle of the screen. Let's see what the Geomancy rune is for today. Well, it's Conjunctio, and so Conjunctio is an interesting rune. It kind of looks like an hourglass, and here it is. And it looks like this. And basically, you're talking about union or joining. So in terms of a collaborative experience, if you want to call it that, or if you're uniting with a particular group or cause or something, how you align with others could determine your fate. if you allow the group itself to control your perception. If you don't give that away to the group, then or to that union or to that alignment with others, if you still retain your own sense of self, that's one thing. Then you're the one controlling what you do and all of that. But sometimes, like when you see the rune populace versus the rune via, geomancy basically has 8 runes, but there's 16 because you get the complement of each other, right? And but conceptually it's really 8 runes, and because you get both sides of the equation with each one. And so in that regard, you've got via, which is a path or a journey, and then you've got populace, which is the more passive influence, where you're going along with the crowd. It's the people, it's being a follower versus somebody taking the initiative to set their own course. So when you talk about fate and Perthrow, if you belong to, or if you align, in other words, you have to be careful how you align with other people, and make certain that you don't lose your own autonomy in the whole thing. And that sort of aligns somewhat with the esoteric influences today. How you engage with the group matters, and whether or not you're going to let it take you, where it wants to go, or whether you decide, well, no, I agree with this, but I don't agree with that. You have to be able to do that. You have to be able to express yourself without any fear. I find that when you challenge people, they have a hard time, with your own perception of something. You can say, well, I understand where you're coming from, but maybe you could think about it a different way. This is how I see it. Some people get really upset by that, and they lash out, and they can't have someone else suggesting that. I guess they see it as, well, now I'm doing something wrong, so now I have to react about it, right? And with Jupiter in Aries right now and in retrograde, there's a lot of overreaction that's happening during this time of Mercury retrograde. You couple that with that, and you have a lot of miscommunication that can result in a lot of conflict, and it doesn't have to, and so I think maybe, with Perthrow here and Conjunctio, you have the opportunity to align with others while still controlling who you are and not giving yourself away to the group. We've seen a lot of that happen, where almost to the point of a cult mentality that exists now in this country. And it's sad to see it, because the truth is what it is, but in their world it isn't. And it's like, well, yeah, but we have to figure, I mean, I don't know. It's like it's like this is an Apple mouse, okay? It has the little Apple insignia on it. It's a mouse. It's from Apple. You can't say it's something else. You can't say it's a bowl or something else. And yet the disparity is that big. And that's what happens when you give yourself away and your fate away to someone who's dynamic and convinces you of things that are just completely untrue. And any other time in your life, you would have known that, right? So that's the kind of thing right now. And I think that so be careful how you align with people. Be careful how you come into harmony with people to make sure that you don't lose your own autonomy in the process. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Well, let's see. Okay, this is going to be interesting. The cards for today are the Sun, the Hermit, and the King of Cups. So, I don't know if I'm just gonna put the King of Cups first. Let's talk about him, get him out of the way. Here we have the king. His throne is literally on the water. Let me see if I can see something back here. Yes, that's a ship. A big ship back there. You can see the sails on it if you look really, really close. If I can keep my hand from moving. He holds a scepter in his left hand and a chalice in his right. He's, of course, not looking at you directly. And so the King of Cups is an interesting guy. You know, he can be really compassionate. He can be a wise mentor. He can be very generous. He can also be impulsive. This is the water element with cups, and so very changeable. One minute he thinks one thing, the next minute he thinks another. He can also be. He can have issues with commitment. He can be very passive aggressive. And the fact that he doesn't look you in the eye just tells me that he's interested in his own thing and he's not really interested in anybody else. I think that when an individual on a card looks directly at you, unless they're doing something and it's obvious that they're doing something and that's why they're looking in the direction they are, you know, the other issue is he's also looking toward the future in a sense, as opposed to the past. And so he doesn't seem to be really concerned about the effect of his behavior. That's the other issue I have with the king. I find the queens a little bit easier to deal with in a reading. I tend to, depending on the other cards, you know, he could also just have an inward focus. He could be compassionate, he can have empathy, all of that. Maybe we can look at him and let's reserve judgment on the king. But I do tend to read the kings in a way that is not particularly balanced and not with a whole lot of integrity. They're really more about themselves and their authority, and not really not as dependable, I think, as the queens can be, to get it right and to say, no, we're not going to have this nonsense. You know, we're gonna do things from some integrity here. That's how I see the queens. To me, they're the foundation of the family and not the king. The king is the one you have to worry about, especially if they're passive aggressive, because they can't be grounded when they're like that. So enter the sun. We see a child on the back of a white horse. We see a red flag, orangish red flag, blowing in the breeze. We see sunflowers rising, Slava Ukraini, behind a stone walls, it's not stone, it's like a mason type of a wall. Looks like brick, but not brick in the sense of red brick, like pumice block brick, that kind of thing is what this looks like to me. But you have the sunrise, and the sun's rising in the top there. It's in the sky. You see the rays radiating everywhere and providing vitality. That's the thing about the sun. It gives you lots of energy. It's happiness, fulfillment. The sun also, especially like in astrology, represents the self, unless you're talking about esoteric astrology, and then your rising sign is really what's more important. I'm a Libra, but my rising sign is Virgo, so you can't just look at, although I'm very Libra, I'm a Libran for sure. That's very, very evident, but I'm also concerned about home and health and all of that you're going to find with Virgo. But here you're talking about success and clarity, reunion, the light coming back, awakening. It's the 19th card of the major arcana, so new beginnings. 19 reduces to 1, so 1 is about new beginnings. We also talked about leadership issues here in the esoteric influences. It could have something to do with that as well. But the sun is the fire element, really, and so you're talking about the spark of life. You're talking about the kind of vitality that gets you places, that motivates you. The sun returning, basically. Night has lifted, and so all things can be revealed with the sun card. Here we have the 9, though, the hermit. Now, I talked about with everything being in retrograde, a chance to look within. And maybe that's what the King of Cups is doing. Maybe the King of Cups is just being quiet here and thinking about things and considering things from a very compassionate setting, or compassionate standpoint, compassionate perspective, instead of judging harshly a situation. Maybe he's just being a little more quiet and inward about things, and so we could maybe look at the king that way. In fact, we could probably have put the hermit next. Here the hermit is up on top of a mountain, basically. You can see there's snow here. He's retreating. There's a sense of retreat. Again, with the retrograde planets that are happening right now, there is a feeling of inward awareness, where you have to think about things. You have to, with Mercury retrograde, you've got to think about things. You've got to check your math. Did you pay that bill? You know, that kind of stuff. You have to be sure of what you're doing. Did you remember to go to the appointment? Are you checking your calendar? You know, because maybe you've got a lot of things going and you've got some appointments coming up. I've got a couple of appointments next week coming up, and I have to be sure to go to them. I have to remember them, right? So check your calendar, double check your calendar, double check your math, and if you're reconciling your checkbook, that sort of thing. Because you can be a little loosey-goosey with your mind, and it could be going in a lot of directions, you know. And so you need to have that feeling of groundedness that Mercury retrograde sort of upends, at least for some people. Some people don't even notice it. I do. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. But these days, I don't know. I've been paying closer attention, and I seem to do better. So maybe I should have all along, you know. But here you have the with the hermit, you're getting away from everything. You look, there's a Merkaba that lights the lantern there. And that's your soul vehicle. That's what houses the soul. And you can actually, when you visualize in meditation, you can visualize the chakras as little Merkabas that spin, and as you're doing maybe a cleansing ritual of your chakras. But basically he gets away from it all to retreat, to find inward awareness, to find higher awareness, to access the spirit within. And basically he uses that to light his world. You know, the lantern is there to light his world. But to do that, you have to get away from everything. So with the 9, you're talking about endings and completion and spirituality and generosity. But it's with the spirituality aspect of it, you're really talking about an inward type of experience, where again, it's silent. It's listening to silent counsel, the inner voice, divine wisdom. It's using caution, and again, with Mercury in retrograde right now, we have to be a little cautious, don't we? If we respond in ways that are basically not based in thought, you know, if you just become reactive and you see this and react and see that and react without going within and saying, okay, what's this really about? You know, you're never going to understand the true picture of anything. And in that regard, you could then use with Perthrow, you answer the question, well, who's defining my fate today? Well, I'm giving that away to someone else. I'm not going to even be involved in it. You know, I'm just going to react instead of understanding the bigger picture about things. And again, if we're talking about the energy of alignment of other people with other people, maybe instead of looking at conjunctio that way, maybe it's the inner alignment that we need. And the inner alignment, so we could look at conjunctio in a little bit different way here, and talk about the inner alignment that we have. To where we go within and we truly try to access the full awareness of something, the higher awareness from a higher perspective, from a soul perspective. After all, that's what we are. We forget that, and we become the ego, and we react to everything we see. We then get caught up in things that aren't good for us, that don't reflect truth. And at some point, we're going along with the crowd in a way that, and aligning with people in a way that really aren't really about the truth, right? And so I have to wonder if the King of Cups, instead of being passive aggressive and reading him that way, maybe we just need to take a lesson from the King of Cups and to extend compassion and understanding to other people, and be the wise mentor for other people, that and demonstrate through our own behavior that we're not so ready to rise to the moment, and to take the bait and to react, when in reality we need to be thinking about things in a way that are a little more lofty and seeing things from a higher perspective, really. And when we do that, see, then we awaken to truth with the sun. Now, the other thing that this can involve, anytime I see the sun in the reading, it tells me that maybe if we're awakening to something, if clarity is returning, also with the hermit, you're trying to gain clarity, and you have the King of Cups, so I'm going to read this two different ways. Maybe you've got a man in authority here who is being deceptive and trying to have it both ways, or trying to influence people with this lie, that lie, this lie, that lie. And I think, we all know what's going on in the country there, about that. And but instead of believing him, maybe we need to go within and really try to say, okay, what really resonates here? Is this even true? If the guy's committed crimes, well, what am I doing following him, right? He's clearly all about himself and not about the truth, and not about justice, and not about honor and dignity and all of that. Maybe I've been used, so you have to go within. And if the King of Cups is not to be trusted here today, if that's going on in your life, there could be a man in authority who can't be trusted in your life, whether it's in your personal life, or whether it's work life, or neighborhood, or it's on a grander scale. Maybe there's a man who is so passive aggressive that he's not going to tell the truth about anything. It's always going to be about what serves him. So in that regard, are you trusting him to give over your fate to? Are you going to take that back? Or are you going to take it back and go within and get an inner alignment, a unity perhaps with mind, body, spirit, instead of a unity with other people? Maybe you align in your own higher awareness, your own soul awareness, and that is your true alignment here that you need to be focused on, to determine, okay, if I've been following this person, if I've believed this person, then maybe I need to go within and get above it all and get out of the conversation of it all, of the people I'm normally talking with, and see things from a higher perspective. And when you do that, then clarity returns and you can see things for how they are. So this can be looked at probably even more ways than what I'm saying here, but it just seems to me that in all likelihood, this last way that I think I've read this it seems to be resonating a little bit more for me anyway, than initially. I think that if we're going to give our fate over to anything, it's got to be to our own souls and to own soul awareness, and being able and I think the hermit reinforces that, getting above it all, getting above the fray, getting above the conversation, getting above the perceptions that you've had, and realizing that something's wrong here, and I need to step back and just observe for a while, and not support this individual and give my fate over to him, because maybe that was wrong from the get-go. Maybe it seemed like it was okay to do that. It seemed like the thing to do, but now suddenly, the emperor has no clothes and you see him for who he is. And I think that realistically, that may be what this is about. Either someone in your personal life or what's going on in the country right now, where it's become very clear that criminal behavior has happened and probably has always been happening. And for people to give themselves away to this man won't serve them in the end. And it's unfortunate, people, sometimes we get caught up in things. You find out all kinds of things about people going forward that you didn't know, and had you known, would have made a difference. and but you get caught up in the energy of it all, and it's easy to give your fate, give the perthrow in all of this away to somebody else who's not, who doesn't have the integrity to and you shouldn't have done that, but we have to keep looking forward, don't we? And it's not so much how you believed in the past, but how you're going to believe going forward. Are you going to access the voice of spirit? Are you going to allow awakening to occur? Or are you going to stay governed by something that is really not in your best interests? And that seems to be playing out in a variety of different ways for people these days. People want to have things their own way, and they want to be deceptive about it. And they bring in others to that experience so that they've got allies, basically. So they try to surround themselves with allies that maybe think the way they do, you see, and at the expense of other people, and that are also involved, that don't even know they're involved. If you have a group or a business or something with multiple owners, you see this sometimes where some owners in the group will do things that the others don't know about, and it gets the company into hot water. I saw that happen with a business I knew about some years back, and in the final analysis, when the business closed, there was, I don't know, God, there was like I want to say there was like 7 or 8 owners or something like that, and at the end of the day, they had taken out loans or something, and well, they had to be paid back. And I know one guy was blown away. I think he owed like $12,000 or something at the end of it all. So he was waiting for his paycheck, right? Okay, I invested, I did blah, blah, I want my money now. No, it turned out he owed. They all did. So it's just one of those things. People were not on the same page. They had their own little agendas within it. And so there was no cohesion. And whereas conjunctio may imply that needs to happen, where everybody needs to be on the same page about something and know what's going on. I think in this case, there's probably somebody in your life that is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and it's going to affect you one way or the one way or the other. And you have to maybe go within and try to figure that out now and see what the real truth is, and allow for awakening to happen. So I guess this ends up being a multi-level, multi-perspective type of a reading, whether it's, really personal or maybe not so personal at work, maybe, into maybe what's going on in the country. So, but unfortunately, it's all an integrated experience, irrespective. And I either on a smaller level or on a grander scale. So I don't know. But I think that probably of the esoteric influences, the second paragraph that I said, in collaborative situations, you excel at understanding the motivations of others on your team. This is one of those times where you really need to focus on that and try to understand. So go within, use the hermit to go within, access higher awareness. Boy, we've got fires not far from us, and there's smoke everywhere. And I opened the door this morning, and I haven't been the same since. So anyway, yeah, they've had evacuation notices and the last couple of days, and people have had to leave. And they're trying to save a resort up there, and I think it's Cultus Lake Resort. They're trying to save it, but the rest of the area is going to burn because they can't do anything about it. They can put brakes around it, but they can't really. There's no way they can really stop this at this point. Sometimes that happens, with fire. You just got to let it burn and try to do brakes around it to keep it from going any further. And I think that's the mode they're in right now, is what I read yesterday. But it's, as you can see, affecting me. So I'm going to go ahead and close out. Again, there could be somebody in your life that is being deceptive, and you got to figure it out. And don't give your fate over to them. Give your fate over to your soul instead, and your soul awareness and your higher awareness. and let that guide your perspective today. So, and maybe even going forward. So anyhow, thanks for watching. And if you have fire around you, stay inside. And don't breathe that stuff in, because you never know. You never know what's burning. So anyway, thanks for watching. And have a good weekend. And hopefully I'll be better on Monday. And I can speak. And come back again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.